the Memorial Championship happened last weekend. This year was just an A tier. First time, I think, since the start of the national tour that it has not been an Elite Series or above. But definitely weird seeing it. It's just an A tier. But Paul was able to reclaim, the title of the Memorial. He won it by 3 strokes over Yuli, and AB came in third there. Some Arizona locals. I know Yuli hasn't lived in Arizona for a while, but if you go far enough back, that was his backyard. Pretty solid performance out of Paul. 42 down on the weekend. Again, winning by 3. Yuli came in with 39 under, and then Anthony Barella with 38 under. Did you have a chance to watch much of the coverage?
I did watch a little bit. Memorial Golf, I don't want to say it's like boring to me, but like other than some of the holes, it kind of, you kind of see the same shots over and over again. It's a lot of hyzers. And a lot, it's a beautiful course. Like honestly, Fountain Hills and Vista out there, like those are 2 like of my very big bucket list courses, because those are courses like that I've watched so much coverage on over the years. But yeah, I mean it's similar. It's just a lot of similar looking shots and holes. Like you typically have a lot of holes where you got to throw it close enough, or if you're just far, it's like, oh, okay, the couple guys are at 50 feet and they have to decide whether they're going to run it into the wind and risk going OB or into the water, or if they're going to lay it up. Like very similar. It's very like deja vu watching Memorial coverage. Not to say it isn't fun to watch, just because you do get to see guys throw a ton of, like Ezra, man. Let me tell you something. Ezra Aderhold, excuse me. This dude, his form, he's got very smooth form to begin with, but like he's one of those guys that like has just some of the most effortless distance I've ever seen in my life. Like his form, I don't even think his form is completely optimized and for distance. And when I say that, I don't mean like his like form is pretty textbook, but he doesn't quite have the slingshot. Some guys have like that slingshot where as soon as their reach back gets to its furthest point, it is immediately going forward. That's like he is one of the guys who's more like fully extended for a little while and then just has a really fast pull through. And obviously he's, yoked, but he was throwing hyzers. Like, I mean, it just didn't even look like he was trying, and he was throwing like, there's that, it's just, isn't it? It's hole 1. That's just straight that hyzer over the water, right?
Yeah. Like 390.
Yeah. So it's like 395, and he threw it was so high and on so much angle out of his hand. And I was like, oh, that's in trouble. And it just kept pushing forward. And I was like, and he was like beyond the basket. Dude, Ezra Aderhold, that's going to take me a while to adjust to that. He's a stud. He's a stud.
Yeah, it's definitely, that was one of the storylines, that we talked about last week. Coming out of Vegas into Memorial, we had basically 2 that we were looking at, right? Which was Ezra and Brody. Both, again, put on solid performances.
Definitely not like anything crazy, but not enough to be like, oh, the first tournament was a fluke. Like they both put up solid rounds.
I mean, they actually finished within 3 strokes of each other. Ezra in 22nd, Brody in 23rd. But yeah, I was very impressed with Ezra. And also I was impressed with Brody as well. There were some rounds where Brody was not in it. He just was not playing good. I was only looking at the score for his rounds. Obviously, it just did not look like he was in it. And then he would find a way to birdie like the last 5. To get himself back. It was very like grind, and it showed. Yeah, it was encouraging to me to watch and see basically how resilient he was in some of those rounds where it's not going your way. A lot of players, myself included in that, would just quit. Like it's not quit, but like
very few players, very few guys that don't like roll over and die after having a round this their way. You very, very rarely see guys who consistently will end their rounds on hot streaks like that. Yeah.
So that was kind of cool, encouraging to see. It's definitely gonna be interesting going into Waco. Which we'll talk about that a little bit more. I'll give you some insights, what I've been seeing on the course, but it'll be interesting to keep watching them because Waco is going to be the first
initial gap,
somewhat wooded test.
Yeah,
it's what I mean.
It's gonna be the first time that we have to watch the players hit tight initial gaps, and
exactly,
it is going to be for Ezra and Brody, like the 2 guys that we're really keeping our eyes on. It's going to be their first test of like how hard disc golf holes can be on this tour and how they handle them. You know, it separates the guys who might just dominate open courses from the really good players.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, back to what you were saying about the Memorial, you know, watching it, it's like deja vu over and over.
Yeah.
I think that this is one of the, because, you know, when I hear the Memorial, it just is still like iconic in my mind,
It's
right?
very
Like
much,
when I
yeah.
see the coverage, I just like get excited. You know what I'm saying? But I think this is one of the first, in my memory at least, tournaments that we're seeing where the sport has outgrown the course.
Yeah.
Where the venue, no matter how iconic, it can't be a pro tour or national tour. I just don't think, you know, I know the reasoning was that they couldn't get the course closed down. And I believe there's even
The reason is that they didn't want to.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah,
I believe it's because they
but
couldn't, but they said it's just that they didn't want to.
Yeah. So I know that's the reasoning, but we've been hearing it for a while now. And I think that with the Pro Tour kind of parting ways with it, I think we're going to slowly see it. But we've been hearing it for a while of players basically just saying, like, it's kind of boring. Like, you just go out and you just throw a bunch of hyzers. You know, if you go far enough back, the Memorial I don't feel like has always been the hyzer fest. It's in recent memory has. But if you go far enough back, you know, when the course was designed and put in and the first Memorial Championships and stuff, I'm sure that some of those holes were like hard to get to. But because of disc technology and how the game's evolved, you know, now players are throwing mids where, you know, in the 90s you had to throw a fairway type
They're
thing.
too good. They're just too good.
Yeah. And now Vista, I think, is a solid course.
Yeah.
You know, it provides a little more challenge than Fountain. But if you look at the holes out at Fountain, there's only 4 that averaged over par, and every other hole averaged under par. So, you know, your average, if you were a good pro and you're not shooting double digits at Fountain, you know, you're probably losing strokes to the majority of the field.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done. Yeah, so it's definitely something I think this is something we'll start to see a little bit more, where some of these more iconic tournaments, the courses are either going to have to change. Like USDGC, I think, can stay iconic because the course changes so much every year.
Yeah,
they adapt it.
USDGC has never played easy.
Yeah,
too much OB.
But I think part of it is because it's adapted to the game. If you look back, hole 17, for instance, there was a point where it was just an easy hyzer, like 200 foot. I mean, I'm sure it was still terrifying.
Yeah, I don't know if there's ever an easy shot on that hole
compared to current hole 17.
Right, it definitely was. It was easier. They have adapted that course, very well.
Yeah, they've adapted it
now,
every way, shape, and form.
They've done it in some bad ways though. Mozzarella sticks. I'm looking at you, but
they have experimented a lot.
Yeah, they're not afraid to, which is good.
Elsewhere and bring it to a major once you know it's good. But regardless, they're willing to adapt it, and that's something that I think that courses are either going to have to adapt, some of these iconic courses, or change. Yeah. Basically is what it comes down to.